Get my shoes. There we go, get my shoes on. And two. Oh shit. Why is it not latching? I'm gonna have to get some new shoes, I guess. There we go. Sometimes I don't like to hook in. There we go. Okay. About to start it up. We're going to be talking about learned behaviors today. Specifically the ones we learn as kids or children, because we're not goats. So, let me go ahead and get this prepared. Oh shit. Got that. Get my, okay, I got that out of my pocket. Cut this on here. Okay, good. Need to get my headphones in. Should be fine. All right. Hopefully y'all had a great weekend. I enjoyed my Sunday yesterday. It's my rest day, so got some gaming in and all that good stuff. Let me put my link here out too. Whew. And without further ado, looks like it's the right height. Get right into it. There we go. Start my watch on the indoor cycle. Alright. Do a nice little warm up. Like I said, we're talking about learned behaviors today. Stuff we learn as children. Over time, you know. How to eat, things like that. And I didn't always eat the way I eat. Today, I had to kind of learn how to eat. Some people, you know, they have a good upbringing to where they learn the right way to eat. But for those who don't, like me and others, we have to learn how to eat as we get older, if we don't learn that through our parents or guardians. So, it can be a bit of a challenge when you first start learning and stuff. Switching our behavior. Sometimes it can take some time to transition into that way of eating. For me, I had to really do one thing at a time. So, first thing for me was cutting out the sugar. I had to cut all my sugar out. And I had a diet of straight up soda, Hawaiian Punch, Kool-Aid, sweet tea. I grew up in the South, so that's how we ate. But I realized, you know, in my 30s, I kind of always knew it wasn't the best way to eat, but It's just, I guess, since you do it as a child, it's a sense of comfort. Sometimes it can give you nostalgia, can remind you of your past. Kind of like when you hear a song when you're young, and you listen to that song again and it brings you back to that moment. Food does the same thing. How are you doing, Axel? Welcome to the stream. We're talking about learned behaviors. And so, food, very similar to music. That's good. I hope you had a great weekend. But food, just like music, can bring us back to certain memories. And it's important to remember that just because you start eating, the right way, doesn't mean you're going to lose those memories. Sorry if it becomes a little bit hard to hear. We have a humidifier down here and it kind of makes some noise, but thank you, I appreciate that. Starting my week off good, getting some cardio in. But it's important to remember that you won't lose those memories. And as we get older, we create new memories without even knowing. So starting that new step, that journey, your fitness journey, and taking care of your health can be the start of new memories. Sometimes people you may have grown up with who eat the same way as you did, they may ask you out to a restaurant or question if you're doing something differently, like start to change your eating patterns and your behavior. And it's because they feel like they're losing out on a friend, or which isn't the case. You can still be friends with that person, but you don't have to live the same way you always lived. So by cutting out those things, for me, all the sugar, the soda, anything with added sugar I cut out. Soda, all the drinks, the foods. I would eat cereal every morning. The bad cereal. And I started replacing that stuff. I started eating oats instead. Oats were and still are my favorite things to eat in the morning. I have a video on my YouTube channel to where I share my recipe for my oats that I've been making now for 5 years. And I hope y'all try that. I encourage y'all to try that because it's so good. But starting to slowly replace those bad foods with better foods for you, and still making those good foods taste just as good as those bad foods. That's a big thing for me. I'm a big eater, so I like things that taste good, and I like to be able to eat a lot of it. So that's what I focus on when I create recipes. And I try to share those as well, so I don't just keep them for myself. I want everybody to experience it. You may also find yourself wanting to tell your friends, how good you're feeling, how good it's making you feel when you make progress. And sometimes that may make them feel inadequate. But the goal is to explain to them. It's not to make them feel like they're not doing anything. It's just so you can share how good you're feeling, and you want them to feel just as good as you do, naturally. Whenever, say, you get a promotion at work, you want to share that with, your family and friends. You want to share that with people that you care about. Anytime something good happens, because you want them to be able to experience that as well, to know that it's possible, to know that you can do it. If you can do it, anybody can do it. So that's my goal here, and sharing all this with you guys and girls. It's never to brag, like, oh, look how much cardio I'm doing. No, no, no. I don't do this for brag. I do this for my health. And I hope that I can share this with people and inspire them to take care of their health as well. Because health is very, very important. I feel like we all deserve to be healthy. We all deserve to be happy. And I need to get my heart rate up a little bit because it's a little too low. It's only at 100 right now. I need to get in zone 2. So here we come. Pumping it up. Excuse me. Oh yeah. At 120 now. I had to start swinging my arms around. Alright, heart rate 114, we gotta pick it up some. We're still in zone 2, but I like to be a little bit higher for zone 2. Really like to swing my elbows back and forth to get into a decent groove. But yes, the learned behaviors. It's important to learn behaviors. But if those behaviors we learn are not good, it's important to learn the new behaviors. Because our minds are very absorbent, especially at an early age. The things we see our family doing are likely the things we're going to emulate. But just because our family's doing it doesn't mean it's always the right thing. It may not be the worst thing in the world. But you can definitely pick up on those things. A lot of times we like to think it's something simple as just taking a pill for our problems, and that's not the way. If you haven't done the necessary steps, like change your nutrition, and you just go straight for a pill, I don't recommend that. I recommend giving yourself a chance. Do a good month of just abstaining from sugar and eating unhealthy things. and just see how that changes the way you feel and your outlook on life as well. Everything starts to clear up. But the first step is realizing that what you're doing is not right. And that can be uncomfortable for a lot of people, including myself when I started. The most growth comes from the ability to be uncomfortable. If things were easy, they really wouldn't be worth much. And you won't get much out of those things. Now, that's not to say, well, a lot of people will tell you no pain, no gain. To an extent. That doesn't mean you just go and break your arm and, well, that's painful, won't I get something from that? No, that's not what we're saying. But you know that little bit of challenge that you give yourself, you have to work for it. It's not too hard to just pick up the phone, call up a pizza restaurant, or get on DoorDash and just have someone deliver your food. And then you have Netflix or YouTube, whatever you have that you can watch all day, and kind of just drift out of your own life in a sense. Kind of escape. But the more you escape, the more that adds up. And trust me, I did a lot of escaping when I was younger. A lot of running away from problems. I wasn't a very confrontational person, but I slowly started shifting my perspective because I knew deep down something wasn't right. I may have not really known how to change it, but I knew there was something that wasn't right. And it took a lot of reflection to be able to just take that step. I think losing my mom in 2020 was a big change for me because, you know, a lot of people, their mothers, you know, that's a source of comfort. It's a source of love. And when you don't have that anymore, it kind of changes you as a person. I'm not saying you have to go through that to change. But I think in my situation, that's where I get my strength from. I think a good year after losing my mom, I was really starting to get into that depression. I was eating out a lot more, playing the games a lot longer. And it was just one day, I would wake up and I wouldn't feel too good. But I asked myself, is this what your mother would want for you? I don't feel like I was honoring her legacy. Just doing those things. Being depressed all the time. She sacrificed a lot just for me to even be here, to give birth to me. So, I don't want to take that sacrifice and just waste it. I felt like I could have been doing a lot more, and that's what I started doing. Not all at once, of course. But I started really taking those necessary steps, counting my calories, things that were uncomfortable. It wasn't comfortable for her to give birth to me. I'm sure about that. So what's a little change for me in counting my calories, stepping out of my comfort zone? I started feeling a lot better. There'll be times I'll get on the bike, like I'm doing right now, and it would not be comfortable. Many tears, blood, a lot of sweat. But I kept pushing, and she was always in my mind, even to this day. I always tell people that's where I get my strength from. It is. I wish she was still here, that I could tell her the ways that I know now. Because everybody deserves to feel the best they can feel. You know, she worked in the medical field, so she wasn't as up on the eating right and things like that. Always busy at work. The man she worked for always made her feel like they were too busy to have lunch. So I try to tell people, never feel bad about taking about 7-10 minutes to eat. That's no time at all. I don't care how busy you may think you are. Or someone may make you feel. But she also grew up on that as well, on how to eat not the best. My grandparents, you know, they did their best. But there was a lot of ways they ate as well, and that rubbed off on my mom, the rest of her siblings as well. Not all of them. But I feel like if she would have been shown that way, maybe she would have had a little bit more time. But she really didn't want to. Nobody wants to go that early. Nobody wants to leave their family. There's always a way. You may tell yourself there's nothing's gonna get better. There's nothing you can do. While you may not be able to change everything, some things are out of our control. But that doesn't mean that nothing is in our control. Just focus on the things that you can control. Give yourself that opportunity. I might not be able to control, how tall I am, the color of my skin, the color of my eyes, but I know I can control my health. Not saying it's going to be easy, but nothing easy is worth anything. And there was a quote I heard recently: how you do anything is how you do everything. I like that quote. I realized that when I was younger, I was not doing my best. I would try to place the blame on things like my environment, how I grew up, the people around me, for things that I had control over. And by constantly doing that, by constantly taking my energy to make those excuses and come up with things that weren't true, I was using my energy that I had that I could have been using to better myself. Energy is a very important thing. Where do you put your energy? We only have so much. And it does take a lot of energy to make those excuses. You can control where you put your energy. That's something you have control of, so give yourself that opportunity to place your energy in things that are going to benefit you. Because you can do it. If no one else believes you can do it, I believe you can do it. And the more you do it, the more you start to believe in yourself. And then once you believe in yourself, you have the power to inspire others. That's my goal. I know I can do it now. I didn't always believe I could. My mom would always tell me, you can do it. I believe in you. Despite me not believing in myself. So I'm here as an example. I know if I can do it, anybody can do it. I know what it's like to grow up with hand to mouth. So if you're in one of those situations where you just feel like nothing can get better, everything's wrong, have faith. It's not easy. But I promise you can do it. You just have to take your power back. Do your best. Because nobody's perfect. But never let the fact that you aren't perfect hold you back from trying to be a better version of yourself. I think it's easy to just hear that, the fact that you're not perfect, and just say, well, I'm not perfect, why even try? Well, we're never going to be perfect. But never let that hold you back from trying, from doing your best. I say try, but you have two options. There is no try. You can do or you cannot do. So I always say do your best. So that's what we're doing today. We're doing our best. One step at a time. One pedal at a time right now. But all those pedals add up. It may not seem a lot in the moment. Sometimes one thing at a time, but it's important to not overwhelm yourself. If you overwhelm yourself, it's easier to get discouraged. A lot of times in the beginning, I would try to do too much at once, which is not sustainable. And you have to be able to sustain things to grow. Think of a plant. If you're growing a plant outside, you never really just dump all the water it needs at one time on it, or you just never put too much plant food. You can kill it that way, and it won't grow at all. But you give healthy amounts when they're needed. And it starts to grow. We're not so different from plants in that sense. What's up, Jay? We're talking about learned behaviors. Overcoming ourselves. My heart rate's at 145 right now. I could probably bring it down a bit. I kind of like zone 3. There's always a way. Sometimes our comfort, it likes to get in the way. We just have to get out of our own way sometimes. Once we get out of our own way, anything's possible. But I think sometimes we learn to make excuses too sometimes at an early age. That never serves us. Because when you make excuses for things, especially things that are in your power, you're giving that power away. Whether you blame your environment, people around you, you're giving your environment, the people around you, you're giving them the power. We have power to realize we have free will. Once you realize that, you can really take back the control, take back the power. You can start to grow. You might get made fun of at school. You might get made fun of by your peers, whoever. Don't worry about those people. They're using their power that they could be using to better themselves and putting it on, using it to make fun of you. The more you focus on yourself, the further you go. And the more they just stay in that same place. You use your power to help yourself, then you can help others. I think deep down we all want to help others. But it starts with you. But don't let that also, some people like so much to help others, they spread themselves thin. And they forget about themselves. I think my mom was kind of like that. yourself that opportunity to help yourself. That could be a mother's natural instinct as well, nurturing. It's important to remind them that you also exist. Men too. You may be tired from work. You feel spread thin. But you exist too. There's always a way. You just have to search. Believe. Coming up on 400 active calories for about 350 in. Once you start to learn new behaviors, it's a great thing. It's even better when you start to maintain those behaviors. If you go to the gym for your first time and you haven't been in years, maybe it's your first time ever going to the gym, and you get a good workout, your body is going to get really sore, maybe for days after that. But that feeling doesn't stay. So don't let that discourage you either. And believe that this is how you're going to feel every time you exercise now. Always listen to your body. Get plenty of rest. And give yourself the proper nutrition to recover adequately. I know I always say, about 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. But that's for people that are in the gym and have been consistently. If you're overweight or obese, you probably want to get about 0.4 to 0.6. Because if you try to do the 1 gram per pound, then you're probably going to be going over in your calories. So what works for some doesn't work for all. You'll get there, but it's one step at a time. So give yourself that opportunity to learn new behaviors. You might be so far gone that you want to just run to the finish line. I think they made a show back in the day. It was called The Biggest Loser. I never recommend doing what they showed in that show. That right there will just set you up for failure. They were encouraging people to just try to skip to the finish line. And I believe somebody passed away on that show, which is why it got canceled. So never compare yourself to others. We all start at different points. I was never obese, but I was overweight when I started, slightly overweight. So don't let the fact if you are obese discourage you from starting. I know obesity rates are on the rise. But they don't have to be. It all starts with that first step. Realizing that there is a problem. And what can you do in your power to make a solution? Even if you just have to wiggle around to get some movement in. Some people may be that sedentary. Just wiggling around, getting the blood flow going. Yep. Once you begin to make it a routine, it's just like you said, it's off to the races. Your body begins to adapt and respond well to the training. You don't get as sore anymore. You may get a little sore here and there by when you go up in weights, but that's natural. It's definitely not as bad as when you first start. Some people, they get to a point where you can become so obese that every day your joints are in pain. You're super sore all the time. So the first step is to change your nutrition. Even changing your nutrition is enough for weight to start falling off your body. Giving up sugar. That's a great first step in my opinion. You might have people say, oh, that artificial stuff's bad for you, the artificial sweetener. It's a lot better than the excess calories that come from real sugar. We're at about 416 active calories. I have to use the bathroom really quick. because it is going through me right now. I'll be right back. Never feel bad about using the bathroom if you have to in the workout or anywhere. A lot of people are in so much of a rush sometimes that they will not use the restroom. Nothing is that important. I remember growing up, and we never went on a lot of vacations, but the few that we did go on, my dad, we would drive, and he would try to take as few stops as possible, like he was trying to race to get to where we were going to go. Don't worry about taking a stop, using the bathroom, getting a stretch in. Nothing is that important. You may be at work in a rush. Oh, let me just finish this last task. And then before you know it, you got another task. Nothing is that important. That task will be there when you get back. It doesn't take a long time to use the restroom. Especially if you're eating right. You may be at the stores and think, oh, I just need to get these last bit of groceries, and then when we get home, and then you're rushing in traffic. Nothing's that important. If you gotta use it in the store, they have restrooms. Just take your time in everything you do. Because a lot of times when we're in a rush, we tend to neglect things or we miss things. And then the quality of that time is affected then. Being in a rush never really serves anybody. You start to become more assured as a person. Your temper, everything. The quality of your work starts to suffer. Even when you're working out, take those little rests in between sets. Very important. I recommend anywhere from 1 to 2 minutes of rest in between sets. You may want to hurry up and hit that next set because you want to hurry up and get it over with, and before you know it, your whole life is a cycle of just hurrying up, rushing. your quality of life starts to suffer. So give yourself that opportunity to take the time on yourself. Analyze every little detail. Get the most out of life. Get the most out of your exercises. If you go on a trip, take that extra time to just be in the moment. We like to live in the past and live in the future. When your presence is the present, it is the gift. Being present. No one else can do it for you. You can't do it for anybody else. But you're worthy of being present for yourself. Regardless of somebody else telling you, hurry up, this or that. Let them be in the rush. Like I said, you can't do it for others. You can't be present for them. They have to be present. Just like we have to be present for ourselves. It's all within your reach. Before you know it, you start to learn those new behaviors. Once you learn them, you begin to maintain them. It's an incredible thing. Once you experience it, you're going to hold on to that. Everything in your power. But it starts with your mind. Once you start to think right, your mind will lead your body to start to do right. It's fascinating. How you can develop over time. One moment in life, you're thinking there's nothing you can do. You kind of define yourself off of those thoughts, but once you wake up, you start to be accountable, and you take your power back, and you start using your free will to do things that you can control. It's an amazing thing. You're going to start wanting that for others once you get to that point. And while you may be able to lead a horse to water, of course, you can't force them to drink. So never dwell on it. Just do what you have to do. In time, the right people will see. They'll see how you're not giving up. The people have already done it, they're going to be proud. The people who aren't, they're going to be inspired. But if you always make excuses and you give other people your power, you talk about other people, you're still giving people your power. Because that energy you could be using to better yourself is now using to try to down someone else. That adds up. Just like each one of these petals that I'm doing right now is adding up. It may seem like I'm not going very fast. That's by design. We're in zone 2 right now, so goal is to burn fat. Each petal, each step, each good meal, all adds up. Every time you decide not to drink soda, not to drink the sweet tea, it slowly starts to add up. Or vice versa. You do drink the soda, you do drink the sweet tea. That's also going to add up. He who says he can and he who says he can't are usually both right. Your mind will leave your body. And I know how these foods, they can be pretty addicting. The chemicals they put in there to make them more palatable. But your mind still has to lead your body to go get them. My first step was starting my nutrition. I didn't just stop eating out altogether, but what I did, I started counting the calories of the things that I was eating when I was out. And for me, like most people I'm sure, I would get the combo meals. Like at Wendy's, for example, that was a spot that I used to frequent. And once I started counting calories, I realized that those combo meals were all over 1,000 calories. So my goal was to eat meals that were no more than 500 calories. So I started to just get this sandwich. I stopped eating the burgers and the cheeseburgers because those are very high calorie. And I started getting the grilled chicken sandwiches. They were about 500 calories and some change. That was my first step. I did that for a while and realized that the volume of the food wasn't enough. I wanted to eat more. So I started designing my own meals to be more voluminous, but still only be around 500 calories. And those meals tended to have a lot more protein than one sandwich at Wendy's. And I would get a lot more full off those meals. Before I knew it, I wasn't eating out at all. And I started to save more money because I would buy the Whole Foods, a nice big pack of chicken breast or the whole rolled oats for the morning, instead of buying every single meal, paying them to cook it, paying them for the extra price so they can make money off the food too. I started skipping less meals because I had the food there. I had food for a week rather than eating maybe once or twice a day. I started eating more frequent meals, 5 to 6 times a day. Giving myself that nutrition to last throughout the day. Drinking a lot of water. There was one point in time I was just drinking nothing but water, and I still do that. But I like to add EAAs sometimes with my electrolytes. It makes it taste good. Yes, I eat that whole pot of oats every morning, the same way I showed in my video. 170 grams of oats, 120 grams of egg whites, 1 scoop of protein powder. I had it this morning too, and it's so good. I encourage everyone to try that. You may not need or be able to finish a whole 170 gram amount at one point. That's quite a lot. So what I did in the beginning, I started with just 1 serving, which was a half a cup. And I got to the point where that half a cup I was getting hungry. So I upped that half a cup to a whole cup. And the more cardio I started doing, because I was doing 100 kilometers every other day. Now I just do 80 kilometers twice a week. And I upped that dose to 170 grams of oats in the morning. And that gives me long-lasting energy all the way until lunch. Yeah, it does take a little bit of time to make that. I woke up at 5:30 this morning, or maybe it was 5:20. I got my pot and everything ready, and I made it, and I want to say I finished eating it around 6:20, so it could take a good hour to not only make, but also to eat that entire pot. Obviously, if you make less than 170 grams, it'll take you less time to eat it. You definitely just don't want to scarf it down as fast as possible. I have got the Quest bars online before, but I get them from Sam's usually. But they're about the same price on Amazon for a 12-pack. I think at Sam's they're about 20 bucks and some change. So I wouldn't recommend spending 30, because some places on Amazon will charge you 30 or even more depending on the flavor. So if you can get them for about 24 bucks, that's a good deal. You can get a Sam's membership online. It's 25 bucks right now for the membership, and I think it's 50 a year. But I got in while it was 25 bucks. So until May 31st, you can get one right now for only 25 bucks. And you're going to save a lot of money, because they sell the oats, they sell chicken, they sell every good thing you need there. So 25 bucks is a very good deal for Sam's right now. And you only have to pay once a year. They also have an app that you can download on your phone to where you can just scan the stuff as you go. And you can pay for it without even going through the line or the self-checkout. You can pay for it right through the app on your phone. So if you don't have a Sam's Club membership, I do recommend getting one. It costs the price of, buying a large pizza. A lot of people eat out, and if you have a family, you can very well easily spend about 40 bucks. So I definitely recommend getting a Sam's Club membership if you don't already have one. Yeah, I always recommend getting your nutrition in check first, but it really doesn't matter as long as you get into the routine of doing something. It's better than doing nothing at all. So if you're already lifting, you're already consistent about what you're doing in the gym, then it's never too late to start your nutrition journey. Your results will start to skyrocket with that. So whether you start lifting first or whether you start nutrition first, you're going to see a noticeable difference no matter what it is. But once you combine the two, you're really, really going to see a noticeable difference. Just like how when we're young, we like to combine, sugar and pizza and stuff, and then we have heartburn. That's double for it. Once you combine the nutrition and the weights and the cardio and all, that's double the progress. You get the adequate amount of protein, the right amount of calories, not too much, not too little. Your progress just goes and goes. Your body really feels it. I can't explain how my progress developed over the time of adding both. It was quick too. Just the nutrition by itself was good. I was losing weight. But when I added the cardio, and I didn't have weights at the time, so I was doing push-ups and pull-ups on the door frame, and I was doing push-ups, on my floor. I got to the point where I could do so many push-ups that I had to start doing them on my knuckles because my wrist was starting to get pain from being in that position for so long. Once I started doing them on my knuckles, my wrist strength even got to grow. You may be at a point where you can't do push-ups. You may have to do them on your knees, even wall push-ups if you're at that point. Just remember, just doing something is better than doing nothing. Just because you can't do the proper form in the beginning doesn't mean you won't get there. You will get there. Keep giving yourself little challenges. Someday you're going to be able to do even more. I always tell people when I started this cycle journey, I was so out of breath after only 8 minutes I had to stop. But that 8 minutes was better than 0 minutes. It's very important to find the form of cardio that you enjoy as well. I always like cycling because it's less impact on the knees. Depending on your weight, you may not be able to run. The cycle might even be too hard because if you're sitting down, you know, you can get some pretty bad rashes and stuff in your groins or whatever, depending on how much you weigh. If you gotta wiggle it off, just start doing some wiggle sessions. If you have to get into the pool, get into the pool. There's always a way. Anything that gets your heart rate up and you can sustain that heart rate being up is going to be a form of cardio for you. But you have to watch your heart rate very closely, which is why I recommend getting you an Apple Watch or a Fitbit, something that you can really monitor your heart rate with. They even have ones you can strap across your chest. Some of them I think can go on your arm. But monitor your heart rate. Make sure you're in a steady state and you can maintain that steady state over time. And before you know it, your times will increase. Your heart health will get better. Your VO2 max levels will start to go up. Your muscular endurance goes up. Weights alone isn't always the way to burn more calories. You do burn some calories while lifting weights. If you're doing circuit training on weights, you burn a little bit more calories than just regular strength training. But to be in a steady state is always going to be for your heart health. You're always going to burn more calories doing that. So knowing how many calories you need for your activity level, your basal metabolic rate, is very important. As y'all, I know this humidifier kicks on a lot. So I'm going to be getting a microphone for this thing. I have to set up a mic so y'all can hear me much better. That's pretty good. Was that total calories or active calories? Yeah, you wanna look at your active calories because your total calories factors in your basal metabolic rate. When we do stuff like this, we only look at our active calories. Total calories is a combination of your active and your basal metabolic rate. But the watch can have more trouble sometimes knowing what your basal metabolic rate is, so we only look at active calories because those are the calories we expend being active. Your total calories are always going to be higher for that fact. So when you're really dialing in your nutrition, you want to look at your active calories. Then you want to find out your personal BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. And then you can add those numbers together. But a lot of times your watch will tell you the difference. Like mine, it says active and total. Total, I've already burned 868, it says on my watch. Active, I've burned 744. 745 now. Yeah, the calories that you burn while you're lifting would be active. But I have an Apple Watch which tells me both. I'm not sure how the Fitbit works, or if you have a Samsung, I'm not sure. I imagine they will tell you both. Most watches should be just about the same in that sense. That's good. Yeah, I always choose what I'm doing on my watch. Right now I got the indoor cycle selected because we're doing indoor cycling. And it'll tell me the time at the top. It'll tell me the active calories under that. Then it'll tell me the total calories under that. And then it tells me my heart rate. And if I scroll down, it also tells me my zones. So if you don't know your zones by heart, you can just see it on your watch. I know the Apple Watch has a way to customize your zones for your own age and your own numbers, your own percentages, so that's what I did. Because when I started, my zones were too high for my age. So I got them dialed down to what is right for me. And that's been a big help too. I had to go into my watch app on my phone to change that though. I couldn't do it straight through my watch. Now a lot of people will say, well, the watch isn't 100% accurate. I tell you one thing, it's a lot better than trying to guess with your head. Someone told me that recently, and I'm like, it may not be 100% dead on the money, but it's way better than guessing. And this person was wanting to watch so bad, they were always saying how they wanted one, they finally got one, and then they never wear it now. So, nothing's going to be 100% perfect. I don't care what it is. Yes, they are very accurate. They're about within 80% accuracy. Even better sometimes, I feel. So, I don't know where some people get off thinking that, well, since they're not 100%, I must not need to use one. No. Please use a watch. Anything that can track your calories. If you wear it, please use it. If you have one, please use it. I was talking to someone recently, they had one, and they said they left it at their friend's house. I'm like, what's the point of that? But if you have one, use it. You're going to get so much more out of it. We're at 796 active calories in right now. 928 total. When I got my first indoor cycle, we had it for a good year and didn't even use the thing. It was just sitting down here. There's no point in having something and just letting it sit there and collect dust. A lot of people will get a gym membership. Typically the ones from Planet Fitness because they're cheaper. And then they're just paying for a membership and they never go. If you have it, use it. Same with your body. A lot of people tell me, oh, I have to work out today. You don't have to work out. You get to work out. It's a privilege. While you still have a body that you can use it. It's one day you're not going to be able to. And the more you neglect that, your body, the closer that day is going to be. And all you're going to be able to think about in those times is wishing that you were able to. So while your body might not be perfect right now, don't let that hold you back from making it better. It's a slow process, but it pays off tenfold. And the longer it takes, the longer those gains are going to stick with you. A lot of people like to go on these fad diets like keto or carnivore, and they lose the weight quick. But the problem with those diets are they aren't sustainable. You begin to lose energy a lot faster because it cuts out all your carbs. And if you try to sustain them too long, you can start getting into life-threatening things like ketoacidosis or scurvy from lack of vitamin C, your brain fog from lack of carbs, lack of glucose, because that's the main source of energy for our brains, our glucose. So, while you may be able to lose some weight in the short term, I always recommend just sticking with proper nutrition. It takes a little bit extra time, but once you lose that weight, the weight stays off, and you can sustain that nutrition. You never have to change up. We all want our good health to last, our energy to last. That's why now I'm starting to share my recipes with y'all. These are recipes that are low calorie, nutrient dense, and they're going to give you lasting energy, an adequate amount of protein. And they have everything you need, from fiber to protein, the vitamins you need. It's good to take a multivitamin too. I take multivitamins. Multivitamin for men if you're a man, multivitamin for women if you're a woman. And then again, you may not even have to take vitamins if your nutrition's dialed in right enough. There's an app called Chronometer, and you can backlog all of your foods that you eat, and it'll tell you what vitamins you're deficient on and which ones that you would be deficient on according to your nutrition, your diet that you put in. So if you don't want to take a multivitamin, you can backfill those vitamins that you're deficient in one at a time. There's always a way. The way may not always be easy. But it pays off. We're at 858 active calories burned, 1,000 total calories. Heart rate is 132, so we're just on the cusp of zone 3 right now. I am going to take a quick break to pee because nothing is that important. And we'll come right back to our cardio. Doesn't take long at all. Y'all probably remember the movie Austin Powers, where he was just going and going and going and going. It's not like that. You just get in and get out. Done in no time. Just like this cardio session. We're about 1 hour and 38 minutes in. We got maybe 40 minutes to go, if that. And we will get there. But we definitely didn't start off doing 2-hour sessions. It slowly evolved. Your ability to keep up and maintain for that amount of time will evolve. The speed at which you're able to do them will evolve. But as long as you're monitoring your heart rate and you're staying in a steady state of cardio, you're going to evolve. You begin to adapt. Your ability to push yourself will increase. Your cortisol levels will start to decrease just through adding training alone. Things that stressed you out before don't stress you out as much because you're putting actual stress on your body when you exercise. And that prepares you for those little things in life that really aren't that stressful. But when we neglect exercise consistently, they become more stressful. And that's when you start to raise your cortisol levels. It becomes harder to get rest, which is super important for recovery. You have to have rest. I can't stress that enough, pun intended, because the rest is so important. I remember not being able to really sleep on time sometimes, or get enough sleep when I was sleeping. I feel like my body wasn't being used properly. So I would toss and turn more. I wasn't able to just stay asleep. But once I started doing cardio, by the end of that night, my body was tired, especially in the beginning. So it was nothing to get a good night's sleep. And it's still like that for me. I go to bed at a proper time, I wake up at a proper time. Sometimes on the weekend you might want to stay up a little bit later. For me, it's normally maybe a Friday or a Saturday. If I stay up too late on a Friday, Saturday I'll try to get to bed. I won't try, I will get to bed a little bit earlier. And then by Sunday, I'll be able to sleep right back to where I was before. Like this morning, I woke up at 5:20. Saturday, I woke up at, I want to say maybe 7 something, maybe 8. But I only got like 5 hours of sleep because I went to bed around 2. Sunday, I woke up a little bit earlier. It was about 6 something. And then by Monday, I was back on waking up at 5:20. So, slowly weaning off of the staying up late. But you still have a life too, so you're going to naturally want to stay up a little bit later on those days and connect with people that you don't get a chance to in the regular weekday as much. Nothing wrong with that. We got our workout done on Friday, we got our workout done on Saturday, and Sunday was a complete rest day for me. Well needed rest day. Doing those deadlifts off of about 5-6 hours of sleep, I can tell the difference. But we still got it done. Just like we're getting our cardio done this morning. 926 active calories in, almost at 1,000. We stand to burn about 1,300 calories today. And we're an hour and 44 minutes in. So we have a good 35, 36 minutes before we start our cool down. I like to cool down around 2 hours and 20 minutes. Or at 1,200 calories, whichever comes first. But sometimes we'll just go for the 2 hours and 20 even if we have it 1,200. Just to give a little bit of extra. And that 1,300 is active calories. Total calories will be a bit more. Right now, total we're at 1,091. I think total will probably be around 1,500. But we really don't pay too much attention to the total calories. I have a scale upstairs that it'll tell me my basal metabolic rate, my body fat percentage, my muscle mass, all that stuff. So we already calculate our BMR based off of that number, and I add that onto my active calories. Pump it up a bit. Active heart rate is 125 beats per minute. For my weight, that's in zone 2, which is 60 to 70% of our max heart rate. And if you don't know what your max heart rate is, you can easily find out just by taking your age and subtracting that from the number 220. And whatever number you get, that's your max heart rate. You can go ahead and calculate your zones on your watch. So zone 1 would be 50 to 60% of that number. Zone 2 would be 60 to 70%. Zone 3 would be 70 to 80, so on and so forth. It keeps increasing by about 10%. So I highly recommend dialing your zones in to your watch if you have the ability to. I know we can do that with the Apple Watch. I imagine you can do it with other watches too. I'm not sure because I don't own any, but you could look that up. And you just get more dialed in. You get a more accurate number of which zone you're going to be in. Because when I started, my zones were too high. I was in zone 3 thinking I was in zone 2. I was about 134 to 140 for my my heart rate, which I thought was zone 2, but I was actually in zone 3. But once we got it dialed in, it made more sense, because I always felt more out of breath in those higher zones. And there's nothing wrong with being in zone 3, but it's important to remember that once you go above zone 2, you start dipping into other sources of energy like your carbs and your protein. Once you get into like zone 3, you start dipping into your carbs. You're still burning calories from fat, and you're gonna burn more calories the higher zones you get. But that's because some of those calories are gonna start coming from things like your carbs and your protein. That's where you get too high of a zone, you start burning your protein, you start dipping into your muscle. You don't want to lose muscle by doing cardio. You want to build muscle. So if you go into those higher zones, make sure it's never for too long. For the zone, the less amount of time you want to be in that zone. That's why when people do intervals like sprinting and stuff, they only do it for about a minute, a good minute, which is all out sprints, and then they get their rest. And then they do it for another minute, all out, and they get their rest. So it's not really such of a steady state. But doing intervals, you can build a little bit of muscle too while burning calories. And it's actually beneficial to sometimes hit those zones every now and again, just for your VO2 max. Just remember that number of calories you burn in those zones are also going to be coming from your protein stores. So it's very important to get an adequate amount of protein. If you're in great condition, like you're an athlete, and you're able to do these long, sessions, and you're working out all the time, you definitely want to get 1 to 1.5 grams of protein per pound of body weight. The typical adult who doesn't really exercise, I think it's 0.6 to 0.8 grams of protein. And if you're obese, it's like 0.4 to 0.6 grams of protein per pound of body weight. So be mindful of your condition and how much protein you need. Protein has a higher thermic effect than fat and carbs, which means your body's going to burn more calories just digesting protein than it is digesting carbs and fats. I believe the number is 9 calories per gram for protein, and for fats and for carbs it's 4 calories per gram on the thermic effect in your body. That's how much you're going to burn just digesting it. And the amount of in 1 gram of fat is like 9 calories for your, and for protein, I believe it's 4, and fats and carbs are 4, and carbs and protein are 4, fats are 9. But when it comes to digesting it, protein digests 9 calories per gram. And for fats and carbs, it digests at 4 calories per gram. Now, obviously, I don't recommend just eating protein and expecting you're going to burn all your calories just through the thermic effect. That's a very minute number when it comes to doing things like steady state cardio. You also have what's called NEAT, your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And that's the little movements you do out throughout the day, like if you fidget or you're doing work inside or around the house, at your job. That's your non-exercise activity thermogenesis. You burn calories through that too. And then you burn calories through your basal metabolic rate, which is just the calories you burn through existence. So breathing, growing nails, growing hair, just existing, doing nothing at all. Even sleeping, you're burning some calories. That's why I recommend wearing a watch, not only when you exercise, but even throughout the day, when you're at work, when you're doing things. You can take it off when you go to sleep. I don't like to wear my watch when I sleep. I just like to sleep when I sleep. Because I know my basal metabolic rate. I don't need my watch to tell me that. I just need to know what I'm doing through activity, through my exercise and through my NEAT, my non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And if you do the same movements and same things throughout the week, you begin to start to know how many calories your body burns by heart, which is where I'm at now. That's how I know I can eat from 24 to 2,600 calories every single day and still maintain my body weight. I've done the math to where I can add that up, and that's what works for my body. But everybody's body is different. So if you don't know those numbers, I highly encourage you to start learning what your numbers are for your body. Before you know it, you'll see a big difference in your physique. How you feel, how you perform, how you look. Some people may not be able to eat up to 24 to 2,600 calories based on how much they move. Some people may gain fat if they try to eat that many calories. So it's important to know what your numbers are and base your nutritional needs off of those numbers. We're at 1,038 active calories in, 1 hour and 55 minutes in. Coming up on 2 hours now. We're burning over 500 calories per hour, because we're not even at 2 hours yet, and we're already at 1,040. So it's a little bit more than 500, but it's around 500. If you're doing cardio right, staying in zone 2, you can easily burn 500 calories per hour. And the more you do cardio, the better you get at it. We're going to get off the saddle here. Get a good stretch in our hips. Slow the pedal down, but keep the heart rate up. Heart rate's at 126 now for me. That's still in zone 2. It may even go up a bit from standing up, which is good. Whew. I had the resistance up a bit for the majority of this ride. And I can feel that in my hips and my groin area. Increasing the resistance also can increase your heart rate. So keeping a good posture when you're on the saddle. I don't recommend holding on to the handlebars too much. If you're standing up, you need to keep your balance. But if you're on the saddle, swinging your arms and stuff and twisting as you go is a really good way to keep your heart rate high. Almost as if you're running, you know. You get a good stretch when you're doing it. We're at 1,061 active calories in. Total calories are 1,236. We're at 1 hour and 58 minutes. So we're moving good. Coming up on 2 hours. Got less than a minute left for 2 hours. And we'll see where we're at on the 2 hour and 20 minute mark. We very well may burn more than 1,300 calories today at this rate. We're almost at 1,100 and we're not even at 200 yet. Or 2 hours, I'm sorry. We typically burn from about 85 to 95 calories per 10 minutes. So at that rate, I will be over, or at least just at 1,300 once we hit 2 hours and 20 minute mark. So on the cool down, I might even just hit 1,400 today. That's probably because in the beginning of this session, I was in zone 3 for a little bit of time. Right now we're at zone 2. We've been in zone 2 now for 67 minutes. So the rest of the time I was likely in zone 3. We were in zone 1 for the first, I would say, 10 minutes, warming up. So the rest of that time, that would probably be about 40, maybe 30 something minutes in zone 3. We just hit 2 hours, well, we just hit 2 hours and 1 minute. We're at 1,086 active calories, 1,088, I'm sorry, 1,089. So in 10 minutes, we'll probably be at 1,170, 1,168, we'll probably see when we get there, but we're keeping that steady state up. Make sure you have some good electrolytes. Get plenty of water. You're definitely going to be sweating it out. And I'm curious to see how much I'll weigh after this. If I had to guess, I would say I might just be around 149 today. 149 pounds. I have a good feeling that we probably will be. We're at 1,100 active calories now at 2 hours and 2 minutes in and 30 seconds. So we're definitely going to hit the 1,200 mark before the 2 hour and 20 minute marker. It's all for our endurance, good heart health, etc. There is a way. So I encourage you guys and girls to learn those new behaviors if you haven't already.
It's never too late. For me, I was 31 before I started. I'd worked out a bit in my past. I did a powerlifting meet when I was in 2016, so 20-something years old. But I wasn't taking my nutrition seriously as I needed to. And while I may have been a little bit strong, I wasn't a fan of my physique or my performance. Cardio-wise, my confidence wasn't where it needed to be. It was still better than nothing. I got first place in 2016 in the novice category in my weight class. And then we stopped. After that, I completely stopped going to the gym. I kept eating the way I was eating: pizza, wings, eating Debbie cakes and stuff. And I remember the nutrition shop that I was going to at the time was telling me, if you want to build muscle, you need to eat 3,000 calories. Do not do that. They just throw out that, every nutrition shop throws out the same number: 3,000, 3,000, 3,000. That's going to be a lot of calories, even for people that do cardio consistently. I don't even eat 3,000 now, and I'm over here doing 80 kilometers twice a week. So if you have a nutrition shop that's telling you in order to build muscle you need 3,000 calories, don't even listen to it. Yes, your body needs more calories when you exercise, but not that. You don't need to be that much in a surplus. I don't know where they come up with that number, but it's always the same in every shop. I recommend really monitoring your active calories. And even your non-exercise activity thermogenesis, the active calories that you burn from that. Once you get those numbers right, you can calculate them all at the end of the week. Especially if you do the same stuff every week. The reason I do it at the end of the week is because I only do cardio 2 times a week. And then the rest of the day is I do my weight training. So I don't just eat more calories on the days that I do cardio. I eat the same amount every day. So in order to know how many you can eat every day, you take those numbers at the end of the week, add them together with your basal metabolic rate, and then you divide it by 7, and then you have your caloric allowance for every single day. We're at 121 on our heart rate, 2 hours and 7 minutes in, 1,150 active calories burned, 1,338 total calories burned. But again, we don't really look at our total calories on this. If you do have an indoor cycle, it doesn't have to be a Peloton. You can have a cheap one. I had a cheap one from Amazon. It was about 100 and some change. I recommend that you take the pedals that come with it off and get you the Delta pedals, the clip-ons. Because not only are you able to put force when you push down, but when you pull your leg up, you're able to put in force on the upswing. So that can help not only keep your foot on the pedal, keep it locked in place, but you can burn more calories on the upswing as well. With regular pedals, you can only push force downwards. And if you want a more efficient ride, burn a little bit extra calories, it's good to have those clip-ins. Now you may have to do what I do and tape your toes, because I was getting some pretty bad rashes on my toes from the upswing. But once I used the Leuco tape, it's like a medical tape. Because if you try to use regular tape, your sweat is just going to slide and fall off. So I recommend, I think it's Leuco P, Leuko, if I'm not mistaken, and then the P, because they have K also. But that stuff will stick. I don't care how much you sweat. You definitely don't want rashes and blisters, because that's going to make it harder to put in the work that you want to get the most out of. You may have to take it easier so you don't get those rashes. And we all want to put in our best foot forward, so prevent things like rashes. I recommend, if you're also on an indoor cycle, go ahead and get the 4D padded cycling shorts, because you're going to be sitting down quite a bit on the cycle, and if you're just wearing regular shorts, you're going to get rashes. I've had some bad ones on my behind and my groin and stuff before I got these shorts. And if you're getting hurt and injured like that, you're going to have to take more time to rest and recover, and you're not going to be able to put as much work in. So get yourself some 4D padded cycling shorts. And they sell this stuff. It's chamoy cream. The brand is Butt Butter. Put that on too, because that can prevent rashing and friction. So do not use Vaseline. I used that in the beginning, and I didn't realize that Vaseline traps in bacteria, so I was getting more bumps and stuff. Do not use Vaseline. Use the stuff that's designed for this. They sell different brands, obviously. You don't just have to get the Butt Butter. That's just the brand that I get. But definitely do a little bit of research at this stuff and prevent those injuries, so you can continue to put your best and get the most out of your exercise. Heart rate now is 133. We're 2 hours and 12 minutes in, and we've burned 1,188 calories. So by the time we hit 2 hours and 20 minutes, we're probably going to be at, if I had to guess, maybe 1,250 active calories. And we'll do a 10-minute cool down. So we'll be done at 2 hours and 30 minutes. We got another 18 minutes to go before we hit that. We got another 8 minutes to go before we hit the cool down. So we're just taking our time, one pedal at a time. A good efficient motion. Staying in zone 2. We get to zone 3, that's fine. We're in zone 2 right now at 127 on our heart rate. And we just now hit the 1,200 marker on our active calories. Only 2 hours and 13 minutes in. So we got 6 minutes and 30 seconds left before we do our cool down. Pretty sure I can burn about 50 calories in 6 minutes. Pretty confident in that. Probably 45 to 50 calories. Sounds like a number that I can sustain and manage. Our total calories are at 1,400. Heart rate's at 131, so we're just on the cusp of zone 3 right now. Got some sweat coming down. Keeping our core engaged. When we're on the saddle like this, I'm sitting down, I'm never grabbing on these handlebars at all. I'm sitting straight up. And I'm giving my core a nice little twist. Every time my knees come up, I twist into my knee. Gives my core that little bit of engagement. (1,210) active calories in. We got 5 minutes to go before we do our cooldown. So I probably will be right at 1,250 before I start the cooldown. And we'll probably burn, at the end of this, 1,350 to 1,400 calories. (1,220 calories now. Two hours and 16 minutes in. We have 4 minutes left before cooldown. Bring the heart rate up a bit. We're at 125 heartbeats per minute. (1,222 active calories. And we're just now coming up on 2 hours and 17 minutes and 10 seconds. We got 3 minutes to go. Our active calories are just now hitting 1,230. Always want to finish strong. And then we cool down. We're at 2 hours and 18 minutes as of now. We got 2 minutes left before we do our cooldown. Active calories are just now coming up on 1,240. Got about 1 calorie to go. Now at 1,240. So we got about 1 minute and 30 seconds left. I feel like I can burn at least 10 calories in that amount of time, so my estimate of 1,250 is probably going to be right on the money. We're at 1,243 now. And we still have 1 minute and 15 seconds. We're just now hitting 2 hours and 19 minutes as of now. And we're already at 1,245 active calories. So I'm pretty sure I can burn 5 calories within a minute. Probably going to be a little more than that because we're already at 1250 right about now. And we have about 30 seconds right as of now. So calories per minute, I'll give you an estimate here as soon as I hit 2 hours and 20. We've already burnt 7. We got 15 seconds left. 8. 9. 5 seconds left. And we burned 10 calories per minute. We just hit 2 hours and 20, so I'm going to slowly come down and I'm going to start to do my reverse pedal. I had somebody asking me on a couple labs back, why do I do this reverse pedal? This is great for recovery. We were just pedaling one direction for about 2 hours and 20 minutes there, so by doing this here, it gives your knees and the other muscles that weren't necessarily being worked the ability to get some blood flow. Most of the time when we walk, we're walking in one direction throughout the day. We have to see where we're going, so we're walking forward. And our muscles that are responsible for helping us move backwards rarely ever get worked. So that's the purpose of this backwards pedal, is to give those muscles the ability to get some blood. And you'll feel how beneficial this is when you start to do it on your knees, every part of your body. And our heart rate is still up. We're at 126 on the heart rate, which is zone 2, and we're not even pedaling very fast. We're just getting this nice stretch in, nice slow pace, and we're focusing on the recovery aspect. Heart rate's at 144. We're in zone 3 right now, which is common because these muscles that aren't active are starting to get active. The blood flow is going to them, and the heart's able to pump more blood out to it. 143 on the heart rate. We got about 8 minutes left in this recovery. And we're already at 1,280 calories. So we're probably going to burn a good 1,350. Possibly even a little bit more. Just at this slow rate of going backwards. When you first start doing this, you may feel those muscles really start to burn, the ones that aren't used to this motion. And that's fine, that's just the lactic acid building up. And the more you do it, the more your muscles adapt, and the less you get that lactic acid buildup, and you can sustain it for longer periods of time. So now we are at 1,291 active calories burned, heart rate of 145, we're in zone 3, and we have 6 minutes and 20 seconds left of a cool down. I like to do a 10-minute cool down. Because we've just been riding for 2 hours and 20 minutes. So 10 minutes of this is pretty minute when you compare it to the 2 hours and 20 that we were just sustaining. This really feels good on your back too. I really don't like to sit down when I'm doing this part. I like to stay standing the entire time. We're at 1,300 active calories burned. Heart rate's 146. So we're in zone 3. And we're going to take this all the way to 2 hours and 30 minutes. We have about 5 minutes and 20 seconds left now. My back is really appreciating this right here. My legs, my ankles, my feet. Everything in sync. So we got about 4 minutes and 45 seconds left of this. Get you some good breathing in. I like through the nose and out the mouth. Good circulation. Really helps the blood flow. Everything's nice and engaged. The core, back, legs. I'm lightly holding on to the handlebars here. I'm not squeezing too tight and just kind of just pushing my body up against it when I need to. So the blood's even getting to my hands and fingers. If you squeeze too tight, you can kind of disrupt the circulation to your fingers and hands, and we don't want that. We want everything circulating nicely. So we're at 141 heartbeats per minute. 1,325 active calories burned. And we got about 3 minutes and 15 seconds to go. This feels really good. There's no resistance on this. This is completely empty. Zero resistance. We got about 2 minutes and 20 seconds left of this. And our heart rate is at 137, so we're in zone 3 right now. We're burning a little bit more calories than zone 2. Some of these calories are coming from my carbs. So I'm going to make sure I get a little bit more carbs too today. Back is nice and straight. Core is nice and engaged. Everything's working together in one motion. We're at 2 hours, 28 minutes, and 30 seconds as of now. We got 1 minute and 30 seconds left to cool down. We're already at 1,345 active calories burned. So we're going to be just above 1,350 calories today on the active calorie burn. I can't explain how good this feels right now after doing 2 hours and 20 minutes of the forward motion on the pedals. Really on my feet, every part of my body. We got less than a minute, 40 seconds to go on the cooldown. We're at 1,351. We've surpassed the 1,350 active calorie mark. As anticipated. Well, as predicted, I should say. "15 seconds left. And I will show you my results as soon as I step off. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Slowly come to a stop here. All right. So we are at 1,360 active calories. Heart rate slowly coming down at 2 hours and 30 minutes. So I want to thank every one of y'all for tuning into this stream. I hope that y'all got a lot out of this. I definitely enjoyed sharing everything. And I will be back on Wednesday with another one of these cardio sessions. So, again, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Until the next one, much love. Peace out. And you can do it.